A reading from 1 Samuel, chapter 15, verse 34, through chapter 16, verse 13. Then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house in Gilboa of Saul. Samuel did not see Saul again until the day of his death. But Samuel grieved over Saul, and the Lord was sorry that he had made Saul king over Israel. The Lord said to Samuel, "How long will you grieve over Saul? I rejected him from being king over Israel. Fill your horn with oil and set out. I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided for myself a king among his sons." Samuel said, "How can I go? If Saul hears of it, he will kill me." And the Lord said, "Take a heifer with you, and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what you shall do, and you shall anoint for me the one whom I name to you." Samuel did what the Lord commanded, and came to Bethlehem. The elders of the city came out to meet him, trembling, and said, "Do you come peacefully?" He said, "Peaceably I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice." And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and invited them to the sacrifice. When they came, he looked on Eliab, and thought, "Surely the Lord's anointed is now before the Lord." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord does not see as mortals see. They look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." Then Jesse called Abinab and made him pass before Samuel. He said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Then Jesse made Shammah pass by, and he said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, and Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen any of these." Samuel said to Jesse, "Are all your sons here?" And he said, "There remains yet the youngest, but he is keeping the sheep." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Send and bring him, for we will not sit down until he comes here." He sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and had beautiful eyes and was handsome. The Lord said, "Rise and anoint him, for this is the one." Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon David from that day forward. Samuel then set out and went to Ramah. Scene 1. The upscale reception hall of an ancient home with a door down left. Painted on the walls are important moments in the family's history. Naomi and Ruth setting out and leaving Moab. Ruth entering the threshing barn. Ruth's marriage to Boaz. The birth of Obed. A shepherd's crook and sling hang on the hooks by the door. Lights up. The older brothers and Jesse stand in a huddle upright. They talk with hurried agitation. Jesse's face is visible to the audience. He shows the most concern of all, gesturing at each brother in turn as if handing out instructions for battle. David, visibly younger and more carefree than the others, wanders in through the door. He stands regarding Jesse and the older brothers for a beat, and then crosses to the huddle, trying to get a word in edgewise. David. "Father!" David tries to push his way into the huddle and gets pushed away. David. "Father?" David tries to push into the huddle again and gets pushed back again. David, growing frustrated. "Father!" David tries to push his way into the circle with more force and gets rebuffed with more force, pushing him to the ground and sliding some distance across the floor. Jesse leaves the huddle and crosses to David. David stands up and looks at Jesse. Jesse, exasperated. David. "The prophet Samuel has arrived in Bethlehem and desires to meet with me and your brothers. We must prepare." David. "Can I come? I'm your son too. Maybe he wants to meet all of us." Jesse, with finality. "The prophet is a serious and powerful man. What would he want with a petulant and music-obsessed child?" Jesse immediately rejoins the huddle without another glance at David. David, hurt. "I guess I'll go and tend the sheep then." Jesse and the brothers do not respond. David begins to cross to the door. When he's gone a couple of steps, heavy knocking is heard. Herald, from offstage. "The prophet of the Lord, Samuel, requests the presence of Jesse and the sons of Jesse at a sacrifice." Jesse and the brothers exchange glances, and, with the feeling of a battalion marching into battle, begin to exit in single file, with Jesse at the head. They nervously fidget, straightening their garments as they go. David tries to join the end of the line. He gets pushed away, falling to the floor. He stands back up. The door gets slammed in his face. David stands staring at the door for a beat, and then grabs the shepherd's crook and sling off the wall, opens the door, and exits. Blackout. Scene 2. Rocky Hill Country, outdoors. Sheep scattered in a loose group around rocky outcroppings. A larger boulder sits at center. A lone olive tree, growing out of the boulder with visible roots, sits down left. Lights up, bright. David enters upright. He walks to each sheep in turn. Hello. Good morning. How is your leg this morning? Were you trying to eat those thorns again? You know how well that went last time. No, I don't care that he's mean. You can't eat his head. After checking on each sheep, David crosses to the boulder at center, climbs up on it, sets down his crook and sling, and flops over, sighing. He sits back up, fumbles around for a rock, loads it into his sling, spins it above his head, taking aim at the olive tree, lets it fly, and hits the tree with an audible knock. David. I am a son of Jesse too. Why can't I meet the prophet? It seems like a lot of fuss, and they look kind of scared. Samuel's this big, powerful guy. I know I'm a kid. My brothers are bigger and stronger. They don't sneak into the courtyard to play the lyre. But it's not fair. David picks up another rock, loads it into the sling, swings it above his head, lets it fly, and hits the tree with an audible knock. David, confused. I keep feeling like I'm supposed to be there, though. This thing in my head keeps saying, David, you need to talk to Samuel. There's something important that I'm supposed to do? And talking to Samuel will help me figure out what that is, I think. He's the prophet of the Lord. If anyone can explain this, it's him. Right? Looks around at the silent sheep, loses confidence. I'm losing my mind, aren't I? David picks up another rock, loads it into the sling, and begins to swing it above his head. Still swinging, he glances up suddenly, upright. He stops swinging and stands up on the boulder, holding the sling by his side. He holds that pose for a beat, looking increasingly bewildered. David. Why is the herald coming this way? Why is father chasing after the herald? He never comes up here. I didn't even know that he knew how to run. The herald enters upright, crosses halfway to the boulder, and takes a deep breath. Just before he begins to speak, Jesse enters upright, out of breath. Herald. David, son of Jesse, the prophet of the Lord, Samuel, requests your presence. Jesse, panting, undignified. You must come now. Make yourself presentable. You're the last chance. God didn't choose any of your brothers. David continues to stand on the boulder, holding the sling for a beat. He breaks the pose, picks up his crook, attempts to smooth his hair, and begins to exit. Jesse puts his arm around his shoulders, tries to smooth his hair, and they exit together. The herald exits behind them with a dignified grace. Blackout.